Today I'm going to be talking about a newspaper article. As we start to bomb Yemen, we're also looking at the problems between Russia and Europe. And so in the Daily Mail, it's talking about conscription, but the word conscription hasn't been mentioned, which is a bit strange. In the olden days, up until the 1960s, we had national service. The national service got stopped about 15 years after the Second World War. It carried on in other countries, but today we don't have it. And so with the geopolitical problems that are going on, we think we're going to go to war with Russia. Britain's face call up if we go to war with Russia. Head of the army will tell ministers troops numbers are so low he would need to find more people if Putin's war in Ukraine escalated, and public's mindset must change so they are ready. So the public need to have their mindset changed. It's not about what your mindset is naturally or what it is truthfully. It must be changed for the agenda so that you're prepared to go and fight a war that's got very little to do with you and you haven't created. If you go to The Guardian, Army Chief says people of UK are pre-war generation who must be ready to fight Russia. Why must we be ready to fight Russia? And if you go to here, Army Commander tells NATO countries to prepare for war with Russia. And this is the guy here. He is, I think, an admiral in Holland. We're starting to see this build up towards war. So these are old men, old white men, unfortunately, that have gone into the army. They're about 50, I don't know, very late 40s, but definitely 50s and 60s. And they're completely missing the younger generation. The younger generation doesn't want war. The younger generation have access to WhatsApp, clickbait material, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and they can see what goes on in other countries when there are wars. So for instance, the Gaza and the Ukrainian war are going on at the moment, and we're getting lots of videos back about the terrible things that happen to buildings, people losing legs, people wanting to kill other people. And the generation don't like it. They're very soft and they're very sensitive and they get upset very easily. And they don't want to go to war, in spite of the fact that most of them seem to be changing. Well, not most of them, that is a generalization. Now, a lot of them wish to be changing their sexuality. So what's going to happen? You're going to send a lot of transsexuals to the front line in order for them to go and, kill Russians. And then, what happens with equality? I mean, women want equality. Are we going to send all the women to the front line so that when they go and meet the Russians, and the Russians have a propensity and a reputation for rapage? If you look at the Second World War and what happened in Germany when the Russians went in, what's going to happen there? And that's not propaganda. That's not saying, like everybody in Gaza is raping the Jews. No. A lot of rapage did happen in the Second World War when the Russians went in. They do have a little bit of a reputation, a penchant, let's say, for that. And when we have war, who benefits? Do the normal average citizens benefit? The people that are paying £1,000 a month for their rent in London today benefit? The ones that can't get onto the NHS, the ones that are worried about their pensions, the ones that can't get pensions, the ones that live with potholes, the ones that have to pay ULEZ every day. So all of these people that you expect to fight for England, what is England? Because nobody knows what England is anymore. We don't even know what a man is. We don't know or don't want to know what a woman is anymore. So what are we fighting for? What's our culture? The culture's been completely changed with all the refugees that have come in. We're not even allowed to put up a British flag. If we point at a Chinese flag, as Kavanagh did the other day, the musician, the police go after him and tell him not to put his videos up onto YouTube because there's some people from another country that have come here that don't understand the laws here and have objected. And we have, as the locals in our population, to bow down to the wishes of other people in our country. You think that if you went to China, you're going to be given the same rights? You think that Chinese are going to help you out? Chinese, no, very different. So what the Chinese and what the people in the Emirates are trying to do, or the Arab countries, they're trying to project themselves to be something other than what they are. So for instance, I think it's Abu Dhabi, like Messi or Ronaldo, all that, they're buying up all the football teams in order to give themselves a nice image so that we don't remember about Khashoggi. Who's Khashoggi? Khashoggi was the guy that was taken or invited into the into the embassy in Turkey and chopped up, put into bags and then burnt in the backyard by MBS, I think it is. And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to give themselves a good reputation. They're trying to get this basically propaganda. Their ideals and their rules are very different from ours, and we see what they're doing is wrong and they see what we're doing is wrong, especially when we chop little boys' penises off at school. They've got, I don't know why they would have an objection to that, but seemingly they do. So London, what's London? Well, London is about 53% white people and the rest are non-white. And out of that, there's a lot of other people that are British but are non-white. But if you go to, for instance, a Muslim person, they don't look at the country, they look at their religion. So if we're going to have a fight with Iran, then who are you going to conscript? Are you going to conscript Muslims to go and fight against Muslims? I don't think so. That's not going to happen. So what are you going to do? You're going to have a camp, and then you're going to dump these people in the camp. So is that what we're going to do? And then what happens with all the terrorism that takes place in London when you go and fight someone like Iran? With a full-out war, a full-out Third World War. Not going to happen. Going to be very difficult, isn't it? And then all of the people who feel that they don't have a British culture, for instance, toxic masculinity, all the men that are fed up having, being targeted because they're men, suddenly you expect us to be men and suddenly go to the front line and get killed. So it's a filtering system. You're just trying to get rid of the courageous people, the people that stand up, the people that are willing to show courage, the people that are willing to fight, the people that are willing to defend, people that are willing to protect. Those are the people that you're going to kill, so that you keep all the cowards at home, so that when the laws and the rules and the propaganda comes out, those people who are servile allow the changes to happen in society. Is that what we're talking about? And sexism. So being a white male, you're sexist and racist because, being white, you're automatically a racist, aren't you, from all your past and, what's been going on in the past that you've got nothing to do with. But unfortunately, some of those ideologies do happen to pass down into the new generation and taken on in a, how can I say, submissive or unbiased or unconscious way. And yeah, okay, they come out. But I mean, if you want me to go and kill other people and be killed and get PTSD, have my limbs blown off, get horrific injuries, get horrific thoughts, get nightmares, so that I can protect the people that don't want to fight, the social warriors, the feminists, the libertarians at home, why should I? Who am I fighting for? Whose country is it? There are so many flags when you go out. It was Remembrance Sunday, wasn't it? During Remembrance for the soldiers that have fallen in the Second World War. There are other groups that are doing protests. There are other flags alongside the British flag which come from very far away. So, there are many different flags in England and all those people say they're English. And what is English? What is British? What is culture? What is a country? So you want people to be conscripts, Why should I work? Why should I pay the taxes? Death tax, 40%. My father, if he's left me something over 250,000 or 300,000, the government takes 40% of that. It doesn't go to his own children. Okay, so that goes. ULEZ, every time I wake up and I want to go to work, I've got to pay more tax. If I want to get a job in society, I've got to train myself and pay for my own education. I need to go to university. I've got a massive debt. I've got £50,000 debt. You want me to go and kill other people for a country which is charging me 50,000 to train myself when I could have had that training at school, because you infantilize people at school, because school doesn't really teach you anything and you go out of school bored and not wanting to learn. Sorry, what conscription for what? What is it that you want me to fight for? Because the only thing that I can see you guys wanting me to fight for are rich people, the people that will never go to war. That would Blair go to war? Would John Major go to war? Would Brown go to war? Theresa May, Liz Truss, Sunak, Cameron, Boris Johnson. Could you see them picking up a gun? Could you see them crawling over the trenches? Could you see them putting themselves in the way of danger in order to protect someone else? No, they protect themselves, but yet they want me to give up my life or my limbs or my mind or my emotions in order to protect their lifestyle, because their lifestyle is much better than mine. They're rich people. And when these politicians go into politics, like Nusrat Ghani, for instance, and they go in with the best intentions in the world, and then they start playing around, their husbands start covering up, sexual abuse cases or, something to that effect. So, for instance, asking members of the family not to get involved. You've got people like Nusrat Ghani, she goes into power, right? And then she ends up taking lots of money legally to help her. So who am I fighting for? And I think that this mentality of the population needs to ready themselves. The population doesn't want to go to war. Every year there's a new war. We've just started one with Yemen. We're already in a proxy war with Ukraine. We've gone through 2 Afghanistan wars, a desert war. We've gone through Kosovo, Bosnia. We've gone through Afghanistan, Libya, Sierra Leone. When are the wars going to stop? We generally don't want to go to war. We'd really like to get on with our own lives. And the money that gets pushed into war, we'd quite like it to go into making the roads better or the education better or medicine better. So the people at the top have a very different agenda from the public, and the public are supposed to be the pawns and the victims of what the politicians want. And who's in charge of the country now? The think tanks? No one voted the think tanks in. The Prime Minister? Well, we never voted the Prime Minister in. Sunak wasn't invited in, So Truss wasn't invited in. So who are the people? The captains of industry, the rich people that tell what the politicians to do. Cummings, that advises the government what to do. He hasn't been voted in. The EU government, they're not voted in. So we have the lords, the earls, the princes, the barons, the dukes. They're all coming back. They're all here, but they're under different names. They're under captains of industry. So the people that are controlling us have never been voted in by the public. And so what I see happening, I see us going to a third world war, and I see perhaps them trying to conscript, and I see it going very badly. And what happens when you don't get conscription? You force people in. You force people in by putting them into prison, by shooting them, by putting them into solitary confinement. We're fighting for king and country. Let's talk about the king. The king was very good friends with Jimmy Savile, and MI5 knew all about Jimmy Savile and never did anything, and allowed Jimmy Savile to be with the politicians and the King of England, knowing that he had done what he had done to children. So MI5, why hasn't MI5 done anything? Also, MI5, MI6, they know about politicians that have been tickling children. They never did anything. They just let them go along. Why was that? Why is the uncle of Prince Philip, what was he doing when he was blown up in a boat by the IRA? Perhaps the IRA was setting things straight because he was fiddling, with very young people. How about the cover-up in Thatcher's government, John Major's government? How about Edwina Currie, who knew what was going on? How about Nusrat Ghani? She knows a lot of stuff that goes on. She was on ICSA, and then there were people that she knows that were putting pressure on victims of not to go to the police or not to hand over information to the police.